supported Jim. Jim, come on up and the floor is yours.
Mark, thank you. Courage, boldness is contagious, and Mark really helped set an example for me and a number of others in Congress when he was there. Just completely fearless. He would go down and vote for a bill when he was the only one to vote no. And I just thought it was crazy at the time. Unfortunately, I found myself in the same situation, but sometimes it has to be done. I want to thank my wife, Debbie. Debbie, thank you for being here and putting up with all of my going and coming and ranting and raving. So thank you. Peter and Pam, thank you so much for staying involved with the messy business of politics, and all of you. It would be easy not to be involved at all with what we're doing here, and I just appreciate it so much when business people and folks just get involved and be as supportive as you have, you and Pam. So thank you for opening your home tonight for all of you. So let's give them a warm applause. I saw a few elected officials. I know I always get my feeling hurt when I'm not mentioned, but Attorney General Henry Master. Henry, are you here with your wife Peggy, right? Thanks for coming. Jeff Duncan from the upstate, representative, thank you for being here. Trey Gowdy, I think the best golfer I've ever played with. Trey, raise your hand. Where do you go? Oh, over here. Okay. Well, listen, if any of you have any problems tonight, if you've got any loans that are hard to pay back or anything, we can help you. You know, Congress right now, it's like a kid who just got his first checkbook, and he believes in his head that as long as he's got checks, he's got money. And that's the kind of people I'm working with every day, and I really have just been pulling my hair out. I wish I could give you the standard Republican stump speech and talk about lowering taxes and less government, but folks, we got to back up from all that and see where we are. I hope I don't find that any of my staff members are doing that little ding dong. Oh, it's a security system. Okay, all right. Somebody's violating something right now. But it's really a crazy environment to be in, and as a business guy, I keep thinking, why are they thinking differently than now I've made it mad.
What? The bartender.
How are they thinking differently than you and I are? Because I know I'm not alone. When I get outside of Washington, I talk to people all over the state and the country who say, keep fighting, don't give up. And I hear that all the time. Like today, I think we've gotten about 250 calls against this big bailout, and I think we've gotten 10 for it. And those were all bankers, I think. But what's happening is I think the lines between what government's supposed to do and what the free markets and the free people are supposed to do is just getting increasingly blurred. And people don't know where freedom stops and socialism begins. And the role of government is just mixed up with what we're supposed to do in the private sector. And what we have now is we've got legislative philanthropy. People bring their charitable hearts and they want to spend money on almost everything, regardless of its appropriate role for government. And if you're not for the government doing it, then you're not for education, and you're not for the veterans, and you're not for the farmers or the bankers or the realtors or the home builders. If you don't want the government to do it, then you don't want it done. And that's what's creating the problem up there is these folks, Republicans and Democrats, are voting for everything that's put on the floor. This year we've had a $600 billion farm bill at a time farmers are getting the highest prices they've ever gotten. You know, we had a $50 billion foreign aid bill this year, $300 billion a mortgage bailout. There's nothing that would come to the floor of the Senate that wouldn't get 70 votes right now, no matter what it is. And the only thing that I have a hope in right now is that the voices outside of Washington will get louder and angrier to the point where it will change Congress. We're not going to convince these old appropriators in the Senate to change. We're not going to convince the people in Congress overall to change unless the American people rise up with real anger. And we know it works because literally on this amnesty bill that was introduced a year or so ago, there were only 5 Republican senators willing to take on the president and all the Democrats and the Republican leadership. And the best we could hope for when we started out was to delay it enough that we got to a week's break. And if we thought if we did that, it would give us time to let people know what was really in it. And we used some maneuvers or whatever and ended up, they couldn't have a vote before we went home. But a lot of the people who went home, they spoke at their state conventions and they got booed. And people started to find out from blogs and radio talk shows, and they got angry. And they called and they emailed and they wrote. And before long, it was 5 senators and 100 million Americans, and those senators started falling off in a hurry when they found out the people back home were mad. We've been able to do the same thing with earmarks. We're about to make a difference on energy. But it really comes back to the voices on the outside. And one of the loudest voices on the outside on the energy issue has been Newt Gingrich, American Solutions, really speaking clearly and articulately of what the difference is between the government role and the role of a free people. And if we don't sort that out as a nation in a hurry, we're going to be in big trouble. And I'm not here to talk about gloom and doom, because I believe the American system works. And I go in too many businesses, I travel too much. It works if government would get out of the way. Yes. But this bailout problem that we've got, and I want to give most of the time to Newt. He's come a long way. He knows a lot more about it than I do. But this is a government-caused problem with easy credit, government-backed mortgages, and now the government wants to solve the problem with your money, your future, and it's not going to work the way they've laid it out. And we've got to slow it down and get people angry, and hopefully we can make them change this thing in a way that's responsible and supports a free market system rather than a government takeover of the whole credit industry in our country. One of the best experiences I think Debbie and I had since I've been in Congress is when I was first elected. I was elected president of my freshman class. And we got to have dinner with Newt Gingrich before we left. And it was in the rotunda of the Capitol. We were at his table. And unfortunately, he had decided to leave at the same time I had decided to come, because it was really a lot of what he had done and GoPack and other things that he had published that inspired me to get into this, to see if we could take some real problem-solving, freedom-loving ideas to Congress. And when I got there, he left. But he's in a position now to do more good, I think, than ever before by just recruiting Americans one at a time to understand what the real role of government is and what we can do as a free people to keep our country free and prosperous. So Newt he doesn't come very many places like this, particularly for free. And I think it's for free, at least I hope. But I can tell you this, just by the way all of you respond, this is the best fundraiser I've ever had. You know, I've invited vice presidents and all that, but I've never had one where people, they want to come out and they want to find out what's going on and they want to know how they can help. So I appreciate having, I believe, one of the best reforming governors here tonight. Mark, thank you for coming. Another way we're going to change Washington is to have some governors who are bold enough to tell Washington to keep your money. We want to do things ourselves. And Mark is one of the people who set an example for the country. But Newt Gingrich is the lone voice now for conservative Republican Party, and I think he's our hope of creating that critical mass to change our party and win back the trust of our country. So please give Newt a good South Carolina welcome.